Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's workshop being held by CAPS. We are going to be presenting today on the work-life and play balance. My name is Charlie Starkman. I'm a staff psychologist and the outreach coordinator at CAPS, and I am presenting with my colleague.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lucine Hambartumian, and I'm a master level psychologist and group therapy coordinator, and I work at counseling and psychological services. And today we are presenting our work-life play balance workshop.
All right. So we are going to get started. I think was there a slide before that one? Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, just a moment. Yep, it's here.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so work-life integration versus work-life balance. So we've included this Dilbert cartoon, and thinking about how can we bring these aspects of our lives together? How can we integrate work and life into our own lives, and really thinking about, life is more than just our work, right? There's so many other things that encompass this. And when we think about work-life balance, we really think about this concept of equilibrium, which Lucine is going to talk about and expand on further in the workshop. But when we think about this concept of balance and work-life balance, when the scales aren't equal, what happens is that our other life roles start to fall away. If we're focused so much on one or the other, whether it's work, whether it's life, or whether it's play, when those things start to fall out of balance, there becomes this lack of opposition or this lack of differentiation. And what happens is that we start to get lost, and it's really hard for us to navigate work, play, our family relationships, our friendships, and our hobbies, and the things that really matter to us. And it's important to remember that perfection is not attainable, unfortunately, as much as we try. But even though perfect balance is impossible to accomplish, that doesn't mean that we can't get to a place where we experience balance. And really thinking about, what does balance look like for you, and getting that overall sense of what it means to feel like the different life domains are in balance for you. And I'm going to speak a little more for the next couple of slides on stress, because this plays a really big role in impacting how we're able to maintain this work-life play balance. And how do we define stress? So stress can present in several different ways, whether that is mental or emotional strain, but stress can also impact us physically, and we'll talk about that. I'll speak about that in a little bit. But this comes from experiencing adverse or extremely demanding circumstances, things that ask a lot of us, whether that might be a big presentation that we have to prepare for, or a stressful circumstance might be preparing for a wedding. That's one that comes up a lot. Or you can insert so many different things into that category of a demanding circumstance. But at the same time, stress is also that reaction to a real event, but it can also be a perceived event as well. So stress is very much subjective, based on what the circumstance is. Of course, there are going to be things that are more objective, but everyone processes their stress differently, and everyone looks at different situations in their lives from different angles. And keeping this in mind, it's really important to remember that even though in our society stress is framed very negatively, and it does in large quantities have negative impacts on our well-being, both physical and psychological, this is true, but stress can also have some benefits, one of which is the sense that it motivates us for action. And as human beings, we function best when we have something to strive for. And, when, let's say you're preparing for a test and there might be, you might feel stressed about the upcoming test, but having a little bit of stress to kind of spur you forward can also be, and has been shown to be, a really helpful predictor for performance, because it motivates you to take action, to want to do well, because ultimately there's going to be something that comes from that success, whether that's a good grade or recognition from a professor, whatever it might be. It's motivating you to do something greater. And also, it pumps out a variety of different neurotransmitters. So adrenaline, cortisol, these are things in small bursts that can give us some energy and help increase our focus and really concentrate on the task at hand, whether that is something that we're going through at work or in our life or relationships. And also, we need to be able to focus when we're in that leisure mindset. We want to be able to to enjoy ourselves and feel energetic. And we're going to break it down a little more and look at some forms of healthy stress versus unhealthy stress. So these two types of stress are important to differentiate because they're different in some important ways. So healthy stress is usually short term and it's followed by a period of relief. So again, it might be studying for a test or preparing for a deadline at work or preparing for a family event, whatever it might be. There's that anticipatory nature that kind of builds up to it and you start to experience that stress. But once the event passes, there's a period of relief. We notice that those strong feelings of stress start to dissipate. As previously mentioned, healthy stress has several benefits. So improved memory and focus, concentration, higher levels of energy, and increased motivation. So always remembering that we are creatures that are striving towards things, that we are goal-oriented at heart. And building upon that sense of accomplishment and activation, when things require our attention and we want to be able to do the very best that we can, we have something that's spurring us on. And always being able to keep that in mind, that the things that we're engaging in, whether that's in work, life, or play, it's important to remember that all of them require our attention, even if it's something that we might say, no, work is more important than play, or you have to be completely focused on striving towards goals in the work domain, while also when that can lead to forgetting that we experience healthy stress in all of these different areas, and it's important to keep that in mind. Now, stress can become unhealthy when the duration becomes prolonged or chronic. So when a person is consistently in that stressful state, both physically and psychologically, it can start to play a really significant role in one's functioning, both, and I know I stated that a little bit before, but really kind of impacting how we're functioning both physically and psychologically. So we might notice that we experience headaches, stomach aches or stomach distress, feeling really fatigued. If we're experiencing that chronic stress, we can feel really tired. And there's also the psychological component. Stress can contribute to feelings of depression, sadness, anxiety. We also might find that there are other changes in mood as well. Oftentimes when we feel stressed, when we feel like this pressure of so many different things has fallen on us, we become irritable. And this sense of irritability or anger, frustration is a natural part of life. We're all going to experience that at some point. But unhealthy stress, especially over that prolonged period of time, can cause this to can cause that feeling of irritability, frustration, anger to magnify, and that can, of course, interfere with functioning in general in the areas of work, life, and play. So really being attuned to how this is impacting mood can be really important. And you might also notice that there are several other factors that impact stress. So these might be external or they might be internal. So I've included a list here of some stressful external events, and I'm not going to necessarily read through all of them because everyone watching this can read, but we might be experiencing multiple of these stressors at one time, and these are some of the most common stressors that people report experiencing. And what I think is really important is that so many of these external events are really linked to what our society and really our world is experiencing right now. This kind of collective sense of trauma surrounding COVID, racial violence, this distressing events in the news that we're seeing all the time. And that can really start to take a toll on our physical and psychological health and contribute to that unhealthy stress that I just discussed. And Lucin will speak more about the ways that we can achieve that sense of equilibrium. And I'm going to turn it over to Lucin so that we can look more at the different strategies and ways that everyone watching can achieve that work, life, and play balance.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you very much. Charlie explained so well what we're experiencing and which kind of stressors we are facing in our life. Even when things are going like a regular, if we can use that word like a normal way. But now when we are facing new reality, so many changes, it can be extremely overwhelming for everyone. For young professionals, for students, for middle-aged people, it can be extremely overwhelming situation. And going back again to this cartoon, when Charlie mentioned what I would like to bring to your attention, like work-life integration and versus work-life balance. Definitely, many people, I think, those days, because they work from home, we don't have that clear understanding where is the work, where is our personal life, family responsibilities. It looks that many people experiencing situation that their life and work is integrated. It's not like it was their choice. It looks like they were some way facing some situation in life which is not under their control, and now this is how they live. And I would like to read this nice cartoon and tell, we are not longer using the term work-life balance because it implies that your life is important. Now we call it work-life integration, so it's easier to make you work when you would prefer being with your loved ones. And I would like to give you a big thanks to those who never had a life. You see, this is what I want to, definitely it's like more humoristic way presented, but I don't want to, if you will feel like you don't have anything. Yeah, we're facing different type of challenges, sense of uncertainty, how long we are going to live this way. And many of us were able to develop coping skills, how to manage and navigate life in this situation. And I wonder if you will be able to move from integration to balancing, finding that harmony, finding that equilibrium, and see how you can do those things to help your life. I'm sorry, I'm having some issues here. To manage those stressors, external or even internal, because when things are challenging, we're starting to have internal stressors, how Charlie mentioned very well. It can be our own fear, it can be sense of uncertainty, what we're going to face. Important thing to remember which kind of different type of demands and responsibilities we have. It's a work, school, personal life, family life, which means you're constantly having different roles and responsibilities in your life. And sometimes you feel like you don't feel good, but you need to maintain your professional role, or you need to maintain your role as a parent, managing family and taking care of everyone. It's very important to be able to differentiate those demands, roles, and be able to understand which part takes so much energy and time from you. Because yeah, we work 8 hours. Sometimes people work more than 8 hours. Depend which kind of in which kind of field they work. For some of us, it's a little bit more clear from morning to evening hours, but sometimes when people have extra work that need to be done, type of the projects or things that they need to handle, they can use their evening hours, sometimes even weekend hours, and definitely it's not helping. And we need to be able to accept that it's no perfect and great work-life balance, but we need to learn how we are balancing. Because if you will ignore and if you will not be able to help yourself to have that boundary between your work and life, it's not going to help you, especially when we are talking about young professionals. Let's tell if someone is still at school taking online classes, they still need to work and they have a young child or children at home. Like I have some clients that are in this type of situation. They need to manage different type of roles, and it's not easy. Definitely you're going to reach that point when you're experiencing stress, you're fatigued, you're feeling like you don't have enough even physical energy, mental energy, and how Charlie very well explained that you are starting to experience irritation, sometimes anger, and you cannot even understand why you feel this way because you're ignoring your simple needs for rest and need for finding that balance. And it's very important to make the list and understand, okay, where is it that I'm wasting time with some activities and people? I know it will sound a little bit not right mentioning people, but you need to think, is it any type of people that they are always negative? Is it any type of people when I'm keeping my interaction, being there supportive or being respectful, but I always get so overwhelmed? Maybe I need to reduce the time. Maybe I don't need to feel like someone can guilt and use the time and energy from me. Try to think about those things because you at least you have control over of your own life. Yeah, we don't have a control over of our life situation, but we can see what we can improve, and we need to try to keep interactions with people with whom we really have that connection. And here it's not even about enjoyment, it's about healthy interaction. Because during our different type of workshops, when we're talking about relationship, friendship, setting healthy boundaries, it's very important to remind yourself, if I'm doing those things to help myself to maintain and find that equilibrium in my life, trying to change structure of your life, like you need to see what is there that you can improve. If you're enough organized, if you're managing your time, if you're able to remove from your do list things that someone can help you, and you don't need always to be responsible for that portion. If you can talk with your co-workers or you can talk with your family members, depends in which part of our life we are trying to bring that balanced style of working and living. And it's very important to start to build from small things, like what you really can do that you're not ignoring. For example, sometimes people work and they don't use their lunchtime appropriately, how it need to be, like it's a rest time, and they think it's lunchtime, I can handle some kind of other type of things during my lunchtime, taking care of, I don't know, other responsibilities. But it's really better to remind yourself that you need also to take care of yourself, and self-care is very important and healthy approach, because we know when we are ignoring for a long time our needs, physical, emotional, and mental, unfortunately it comes back and we are having more and more challenges and unpleasant symptoms that we don't want to experience, like being fatigued, tired, headaches, and anxiety. For example, one of the best things, if your work is already done, it's 5 or 6 p.m., you know, you finished everything, even if you have some projects that you need to work, remember, this is now your time. and try to unplug yourself from work. I know it's not easy because all those technologies that we have, and unfortunately things are going to even get more developed with technologies. I mean, it's a good thing, but for people who works, it looks like we never have a break from this because we're constantly checking our emails. We are constantly checking what need to be done. We are thinking, oh, maybe I can finish right now and later I can rest. No, try, when I was mentioning, like start from small things, try to build some kind of healthy habits. This is what is important, thinking, I will work tomorrow, because your work is going to stay with you. Sometimes, yeah, we're intimidated by life situation, or I don't know, the company or organization, and people feel like they need to overwork to show that they are great employees. But please set boundaries and keep clear work hours. I don't want if this unhealthy habit like overworking, overachieving will later on come and bite you, taking your health. And this is what is very important to keep in mind. I remember, like, I don't remember who was telling, but someone was telling, like, remember when you will die or when you will get older, you need to remember that if you didn't have a time, like, meaning was like this, if you didn't spend time with your loved one, with your family one, you will only remember your work, nothing else. Do you want only your memory have a work? No, I know professional identity is important for all of us, but we also would like to live a life and be able to experience something more outside of our professional field, which means make time for yourself and your loved ones. Like, it's a next step that you remember. Everyone is busy, because even your loved ones, they are busy, but try to find the time. We, especially now when we live this isolated lifestyle, being distant from each other, it's very important to keep our social interactions, because sometimes you feel like it's only screen and it's only your work and nothing else is happening in the world. That's why it's very important to keep this and remind that we are human beings, we have our needs, and we need to stay connected with each other. Time for fun and relaxation, and fun can be different for everyone has their funs. For someone it's reading good book, for someone watching a good show, for someone, I don't know, doing some type of activities. Try to find what really helps you to rejuvenate from stress and busy days, or days when you don't feel as good, like you have a little bit like the blue mood, being slightly depressed, not like you're experiencing depression, but you have a little bit depressed mood, you feel some sadness, loneliness, or maybe sense of dissatisfaction. That's why it's very important to remind, it need to be single for you, like signal, this is how I'm feeling, maybe something need to be changed. And again, practicing self-care, which means good sleep, trying to develop a habit that you need to try to get that rest, nutritional food, physical activities, time for interactions, even if it's short time, but try to have that interaction, because again, we're human beings and we have physiological needs, we have social needs, and we need to try to combine all of them. And important thing, prioritize your health, because when we are healthy, we can handle so many things. We cannot ignore our health. It's very, very important, because it will be it's a foundation for everything in our life. Set your goals and prioritize. For example, what is the goal for week? It can be something small. Maybe you are telling, I want to walk a little bit more today instead of 30, 40 minutes. Maybe it can be 50 minutes. What else I would like to do? Oh, I hear like this author is really interesting. I will do Google search and see if I can find some books and read, if you like reading. If you like music, try to see what you would like to listen, what you can add in that list. Like maybe some kind of family game time when you can play some type of games and you will feel like you're connected. Try to think, taking time for vacation. I know we cannot travel, we cannot do anything, but vacation, even staying, when you're staying in your home, but you know, I can go for a long walk, or I can take a long rest. I don't need to worry constantly checking my emails because my colleagues, my supervisor, they know I'm on vacation and they are not expecting that I need to constantly check. It also will help, even if it's not a long vacation, but some days you need to have those days for yourself. And definitely revisiting your priorities and goals occasionally, checking with yourself, and if you have family, with your family, if you're in romantic relationship with your partner, if you're with your friends, maintaining close interactions, checking and seeing what is going on with your friends, if they're also interested to participate in some type of activities with you. And this communication need to be open, and expectations need to be very, very clear. And when we are talking about communication and expectation, it's not only your family members, but also like your co-workers and your supervisor. It's much better to explain like what do you think about this situation and how you would like to maintain work and life balance, instead of that someone will get frustrated. Let's say like you emailed someone and you didn't receive email, that's great. It means like your coworker doesn't want to think about work after 5 or 6 p.m. and your coworker will respond to you next day. This is how it's supposed to be. You need to be able to give that space, especially if you know it's nothing emergency, it's a regular type of work situation that can be discussed next day. And this way it's good for you and it's good for your team and it's good for everyone. But again, it depends where we work and which kind of situations. Now, you need to have definitely your list of recreational activities, your hobbies, and what you like to do in this life. And again, reminding everyone has their own needs. I think I covered most of the things about like what we can do to prevent ourselves and build work, life and play balance. But I also would like to remind you, I don't want if you will make this challenge. No, I want if you will listen yourself and see what you can implement, because again, everyone has a different situation, which is more realistic with your current situation. But simply, please don't forget to take care of yourself, because everything is coming from self-care. This is need to be priority number one during this time, because we may go working and living this way longer than we were thinking. Hopefully it will be not as long, but we still don't know anything, and we have this uncertainty that how long it can be. That's why it's important to get a little bit more adjusted and develop some kind of strategies and techniques that can be used in our life to handle the situation the healthiest way as much as possible.
And also just remembering too that CAPS is here for you. And if you are noticing that you are really struggling with this work-life play balance, or that the level of stress in your life right now, because as we've discussed, there are so many large-scale and small-scale stressors that we're facing, that sometimes it can help have that additional support. And we at CAPS we are here to provide you with that support, whether it's through individual counseling or through resources that we have. Don't feel feel free to reach out for us. Don't reach out to us. Don't feel like we're inaccessible. We are here, and we want to be able to support you however we can.
It looks like we don't have any questions.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and have a great day. And stay tuned for our other workshops.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.